Any questions? Well, then let's dive right in. This is an MFA in Performance Pedagogy. So what that basically means is we're not going to teach you how to act. The assumption is if you're coming here, you already know how to act. We're not going to teach you how to act. We're good. Instead, the idea here is, we started this because we're here in Los Angeles, greatest city in the world. Sorry, Hamilton. We have an absolutely amazing group of performers here, people who do all sorts of stuff. But at any given moment, the 120,000 SAG-AFTRA members who live in Los Angeles, only about 7,000 are actually working in front of a camera. We have some of the best theater in the world in this town, and also some of the worst theater in the world in this town, I'll be brutally honest. We have more theater seats per capita than New York City. That's LA's dirty little secret, but that also means we have like not great theater and some truly amazing theater. So there's an incredible number of actors in this town. We don't need to teach you how to act. We just want to teach you how to teach acting, and those are two very different skill sets. So the idea behind the performance pedagogy program is we bring in small numbers of people, and we are going to have you not so much go through as a cohort, because ultimately the program is individualized. The first question I'm going to ask you if you're accepted here is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, I want to be a cowboy or a dinosaur. But maybe you're interested in particularly teaching acting for the camera, or you're much more interested in teaching high school, or you want to teach at the university level in Meisner. So we're going to start by asking, what do you want to teach? Where do you envision yourself? What would be sort of the perfect job for you when you graduate? And we take it from there. The degree itself is 20 courses total, a total of 60 units, so 20 courses, 3 units each. Math is theater people kryptonite, but I can do that. We have 9 of those courses are prescribed. 2 of them are your thesis, and I'm going to talk later about the thesis, but there are 2 thesis courses. And that means there are 7 courses that you absolutely have to take, that everybody has to take, from Introduction to Theater Pedagogy, Theories of Acting and Directing, Methodologies of Research, because this is a terminal degree. The idea is you'll be able to graduate from here and teach at the university level at any university in the world, things like that. And then there are a number of other courses. In fact, 11 units, 11 of your classes, 11 out of 20, so over half the degree is, what do you want to be when you grow up? So you're going to TA with various professors. We'll say, okay, if you're interested in teaching Meisner, we're going to have you TA for Diane this semester. If you're particularly interested in teaching anything from stage combat with me, black acting methods with Lawrence Lacey, Commedia dell'arte with Neno, cool. Then you're going to spend a semester working with a teacher who is already an expert in that field, who will sort of mentor you through how to teach that subject. And you'll do that several times while you're here. There are also then courses that we offer that are elective. So for example, right now I'm teaching a course called Survey of Dramatic Literature. And what that is unlike a regular Survey of Dramatic Literature course that you might take as an undergraduate part of your core curriculum, where, okay, here's a play by Aeschylus, here's a play by Sophocles, now here's a play by Shakespeare, now here's several modern plays. Instead, the whole idea is, go find what plays exist that you can use in the classroom. So everyone has to find 5 contemporary plays with scenes appropriate for college-age students. Everyone has to find, just last week we were looking at Native American and First Nation dramas that are appropriate for classroom use. So the idea is not, I'm going to give you a play to read. I'm going to tell you, go to the library, to a bookstore, and especially the internets, to find text that you can use in a classroom. You don't write a final paper. This isn't sit down, the last week and write 20 pages. For the final grade in that class, you turn in your canon, which is an Excel document that lists all the plays that you've read, the character types, and what kind of scenes you could use in your class. Because again, everything we do here, there's no busy work. It's all oriented towards you getting out of here and teaching professionally. Does that make sense? You all with me so far? Rockstar. Okay, so then another course that I teach that I'll be teaching next semester is called The Academic Life. We've been teaching you how to be a teacher. Now I'm going to teach you how universities actually work. So for that course, we look at things like faculty handbooks from different universities across the country. We read a book called How University Budgets Work, which is probably the most boring thing we're going to read, but it's vital that you know that, because if you're going to be working at a university, you need to know these things. We read a book that I absolutely adore called How to Teach What You Don't Know. Now, we teach you how to teach a lot of things, but here's the thing. Let's imagine that you've been hired at a wonderful liberal arts university on Los Angeles's west side. I don't know, LMU, perfect example. I'm a theater professor. I teach a couple different theater things, but I've also been tapped to teach in the first year studies program. All students have to take a first year seminar. And I'm like, well, pick a topic and teach it. But it's how this has replaced our old composition course. So this is, you're going to teach students a subject and they're going to write about it, which is an entirely different skill set than what I actually usually do. Or in some cases, at my previous institution, we would have these large seminars where they would grab a half dozen professors and say, okay, the 6 of you are going to team teach a class on a great theme in life, like love, evil, God. And the psychologist will teach it from psychology's perspective. The theater person will teach it from the theater perspective. And the 6 of you will come up with the reading list and come up, and each one of you will take a turn lecturing, and then you'll meet individually with your group. That was nothing I had ever done before. And now I'm being told you're going to do this. So it's teaching. It's not that you don't know, but teaching things that you're less familiar with, that aren't necessarily in your area of expertise. You say, teach us a class in Japanese theater. I'm there. I can do that right now. You say, sit down with a whole bunch of people and teach a class on love. I'm like, to quote the song, I want to know what love is. I have no idea. And then we spend an entire semester figuring that out. Other courses include everything from how to teach Shakespeare, how to teach, oh God, what else are we doing right now? How to teach improv. We're doing a class on how to teach viewpoints, DEAI work in the theater classroom. There's an entire course that you take on that. So long and the short of it is, you're going to have a wide variety of experiences that anchor you in theater as, or the teaching of theater as its own art. But then the other half of the degree is, so what do you want to do with this? Let's make sure that you can do that. So if you're interested, for example, in teaching at the high school level, some of the classes that you're going to take will actually be down in the School of Education, so you can get a high school credential here in the state of California. Just another option to have on the table. If you're interested in teaching, you say, well, I want to open up my own studio. Okay, well, then let's gear towards that. Take a lot of classes in actor coaching, in working one-on-one with performers. Maybe we also have you take, or if you say, I really want to teach at a small liberal arts school. I went to a small liberal arts school. I love that environment. Cool. Well, then not only will you have to take directing, which is one of the requirements, we're probably going to have you direct something as well. Because a lot of liberal arts schools that are going to hire someone to teach need to know that you can direct too. Because you're going to teach 3 classes each semester, and then once every 4 semesters, you're going to direct something. So we want to make sure that you have that on your resume. From the second you arrive, and not to put this too indelicately, but from the second you arrive, we're thinking about what happens when you leave. Once you step out of here, what are you going to do? So we want to make sure that that's taken care of. Now, I mentioned the thesis earlier, so let me explain how that works. The thesis is a 2-semester project that you design. And people have done a couple different things. The majority of students in the first semester of thesis design a course, which in the second semester they then teach. That course can be in whatever your area of expertise is. So we have someone who's teaching a course right now on breath, voice, and the body, which is the sort of combined voice movement class that also brings in a lot of elements of spirituality, because this is a Jesuit school. You don't have to be a Jesuit to go here. You don't have to be Catholic to go here. I like to say LMU is as Catholic as you want it to be, especially for the undergraduates. Some kids go to mass every day, and some kids in their junior year are like, who's the guy on sticks in the classroom? And you're like, the crucifix? Oh, we have to talk. Okay, well, how do I explain this? So, how much that applies to you is entirely up to you, but plenty of opportunities to be involved with mission, not sort of mission like the Book of Mormon, but mission in terms of becoming men and women for others. And how do you use your art to lift others as you climb, which is what we do in this department. But you design the course that you want to teach. We had someone last year do a wonderful class on Meisner for camera acting that filled like the first day we announced it. All these students signed up for it. And this is a regular class. We pay you to teach it. You're the instructor of record. You list it on your resume as you're the one that teaches this. We have someone next semester who's doing a class called Surviving as an Actor, which is all about, okay, you just learn how to act. Here's how things actually work. Here's how the unions work. Here's the difference between an agent and a manager. Here's why you shouldn't date other actors, but probably will. Here are all the elements of your life that are going to take place, once you graduate. So, and this is again a graduate student who is interested in mentoring undergraduates, and it also grew out of his experience as an undergraduate that I walked out of school able, you could hand me a Shakespearean soliloquy and I could scan it beautifully. You could hand me a bit of text and I could make choices and audition brilliantly. And I had no idea how to get auditions, how to get an agent. I had no idea what was the difference between SAG, AFTRA, AGVA. I thought equity was the film union for all actors. And so it's no. So we need to make sure when students walk out of here that they know that stuff. And we do have a course that already does that, that's designed for all graduating students. And he wanted to focus on actors because that's his calling card now. We had a student who was the TA for a couple semesters for Beth Henley, who teaches our playwriting classes. So I just want to throw that out there as kind of bragging rights. Yeah, our playwriting professor won a Pulitzer Prize. Looking at you, Chapman and Pepperdine, which I think is really cool. So she's an acting teacher student, she's in the MFA Performance Pedagogy, but she's TAing playwriting with Beth Henley. And so her thesis was called Writing for the Actor. And she's like, this isn't solo performance. This is how you can create material for yourself and your friends to perform at like the Hollywood Fringe Festival or to throw up live on YouTube so that you can create text that works for you. If people aren't casting you, we're not training you to be a waiter. As I like to explain it, I'm constantly waiting for my agent to call and say, well, you have an audition. I'm waiting for someone else to tell me I can work. We're not training people to be waiters. We're training them to make theater. So while they're waiting, they can still be creating, they can still be working, they can be collaborating with their friends to make theater, to make videos for YouTube so that they're constantly working on their craft and their career. And so Emily, this student, said, I want to teach actors how to write for themselves so that if people, if material doesn't come along that suits them, they can do it themselves. Wonderful class. And, on the strength of that class, she was just hired to be a visiting assistant professor in Hawaii. So it's one of these things where, the whole idea of the thesis is that it sort of becomes a bit of your calling card. Here is who and what I am, and this is really where I teach. I can teach beginning acting, I can teach your acting classes, I can teach an introductory viewpoints class, but this is my area of specialization, and that's why you should hire me. So the entire program is designed to be individualized, is designed to work at your pace. We encourage students, if you take a full load, which is three classes per semester, you graduate in basically 2.5 years. You start in August of this year, you would graduate in 2 Mays from now. So they call it 3 years, but it's really 2.5. But the program is also designed that if you just take one course a semester, you'll still graduate in 5 years. So depending on your need, it's also designed for working actors. As I mentioned, we're here in LA, so half the people in the program, actually more than half the people in the program, are professional actors. And so if you call me up, or more accurately, email me and say, I'm not going to be in seminar tonight, I just landed a role on, Call Me Cat or whatever, I'm not going to be like, well, you have a degree. It's, yeah, of course, we want you to go do that. You're a professional, you should go do that. If you're cast in a feature, great, take next semester off. We'll see you after that. Or we had a student who spent a semester in New York because she was working on Broadway and did, because of Zoom, we've learned you can do classes remotely. So you're going to do, that student did all tutorials with myself and one other professor. We're going to meet 3 hours a week on Zoom, just one-on-one, and work through material. And you're going to write a huge paper. But that's a class for you then. That counts as one of your classes. So this is not time away from your professional life, or for that matter, your personal life. We have a number of people in the program who have children. We have a number of people in the program who have social lives, not me, mind you, but people who actually go out with friends and do stuff. And the idea is the program is not going to interfere with that tremendously. I mean, obviously, you are here 1 to 3 nights a week taking classes or working on various projects, but the idea is it should not interfere with your job. If you're acting, if you're out here working, if you have a day job, we have a student right now who is a professional actor, but her day job is also at a school, and she's like, well, I get a huge pay bump if I get this degree. Let's make that happen. And let's make sure we don't schedule anything when you have to be at your other job. So because the program is small and individually oriented, one of the things we really try to do is really focus on how do we make this work for you? Because we're here. The university's not going anywhere. I have been talking for a long time. You must have questions.
Oh, that was really